So, you've read the title, and you might be thinking, why on earth is this VTuber ranking a manga and anime that came out in like 2010? Well, the answer is pretty simple. I really like it, and I didn't make a YouTube channel to not talk about it. So here I am. Today, I'm ranking every single member of the Jaegers based on their overall strength. And just so we're all on the same page, this is based on the manga, so some of these placements might ruffle a few feathers if you've only seen the anime. Also, I'll be using a lot of the photos and everything from the anime because it's a bit more, showy. But some of these are going to be open to debate, and honestly, I want you to come back to me in the comments. I'll be giving you my reasons and pointing to specific fights to back it all up. Alright, you ready? Let's get into it. Kicking things off at the bottom of the barrel, and I say with this a little bit of affection, we have Dr. Stylish. Now look, the man's vision is genuinely impressive. Mad scientist energy. Titan transformation, an army of modified subjects at his disposal. On paper, it's terrifying. In practice, it was actually a little underwhelming. When we actually got to see him up against Night Raid, they were mopping the floor with him actually, and even when they were poisoned, yes, they got saved of course by Susanoo, but basically they were completely fine. Not a single one of them actually took a scratch basically. All those puppets, all that prep work, and all of that for absolute theater, and basically no one got injured in any meaningful way. That's rough, Doc. Incredible scientist, very questionable combatant though. Respectfully, lucky number 7. At number 6, get up for Bowls! And I will say this, the man deserves more credit than he gets, even from me. There are moments he had that made me think, wow, this guy's incredible. Like when he wore armor underneath his hands specifically to counter against Akame's Murasame, which is genuinely smart. He planned ahead. The problem is, his Imperial arms, the Flames of Purgatory Rubicant, is extremely situational. Wide open spaces, groups of enemies, anything flammable basically, absolutely devastating. But fast, agile fighters who are most of the assassins in Night Raid, like Leone and Akame, which he fought, he simply didn't have an answer for that. Akame and Leone were pretty bad combo against him, especially. He just never recovered from that fight. Great guy, great dad, solid fighter in the right conditions, just not great conditions against Night Raid. Next one on the list, I say this with as much hatred as I can, Seiryu. And this one, I will admit, even though I hate her, is probably the most debatable placement on this whole list, so get your comments ready. Koro is genuinely probably one of the most broken Imperial arms in this series. The regeneration is ridiculous. The trump card, Berserker, is especially insane, considering that it was able to tank multiple shots from Mine's Pumpkin. And basically, it's nearly invincible. Nearly, of course. But not only that, combined with Dr. Stylish also giving her loads of weapons. She had an entire arsenal, cannons, blades, weapons, for multiple ranges. So she is not just a one-trick fighter relying on her Imperial arms. And that makes her a very good fighter, no matter how much I hate her. The reason she lands at number 5, though, is that she fights almost entirely on emotions, even as Death even said it, and that makes her very exploitable. We see exactly that when she goes up against Mine. Mine reads her and basically just slashes her in half with her pumpkin, which is absolutely horrible, basically. And that's all she wrote for Seiryu. If anyone else had Koro or her weapons, she genuinely probably could have been an incredible fighter, lasting a lot longer than she did in Above them. But because of who she is, she lands at number 5. And I'm okay with that. At number 4, we have Run. And please don't write your comments now, just hear me out. Run is wildly underrated, and I will die on this hill. His Imperial Arms is probably the most, I guess, scout related. It's just meant for speedy battles, scouting. It's got a bit of firepower, but not as much. And not to mention his trump card though. The trump card is what makes it extremely special. Divine Wings, it lets him redirect and deflect attacks back at the person who threw them at him. It is wildly broken actually. But more than raw power, I want to talk about his intelligence. This man infiltrated Wildhunt, gained their trust, gathered extensive intel on their operation, was able to figure out that this serial killer, this guy, I will forever hate this guy can burn in absolutely anywhere on the planet, and I'm glad Run killed him. But he is actually very tactical, he's very smart, which actually makes it quite sad that the reason he died in the manga, spoiler alert, is because he was not tactical. He didn't finish the job that he did on that clown. And before anyone asks, I will not say this guy's name, I refuse to. He is the most horrible character, I think, in the entire Akame ga Kill. Only behind, I don't know, the minister. Like, I hate this guy with a passion. But the irony is staggering that he died because of this clown. I still hate this guy. I cannot stop hating him. But full tactical capacity, though, he's probably one of the most dangerous Jaegers on this list. Moment of silence for the greatest strategist, possibly above even Esdef, who was ultimately defeated because of his poor decision making. Rest easy, run. Number 4. Now the next one on this list is going to be a bit debatable, and honestly, her and the next guy on this list can be very interchangeable because they are very close. And I do mean that in more than one way. But we'll get back to that in a second, because I am absolutely going off on a tangent later, and I refuse to apologize for it. The next one on this list is Kurome. In terms of pure strength, and speed of course, the drug she takes actually pushes those stats to an absolutely absurd level, which at her peak was actually able to even overpower Akame for a couple of seconds. Combine that with Yatsufusa, her Imperial Arms, and she is probably one of the most powerful combatants among the Jaegers. The corpses that she can summon are amazing both for shielding and also for fighting. Unfortunately, the reason that she's just below the person in front is because of the reliability of those puppets. Her strongest showing was against her and the whole of Night Raid, where she was able to hold off a lot of them by herself. But other than that showing, all the corpses she summoned later were very, very weak, not able to even make a scratch on some of the Night Raid members. And that's basically it. Resource management on that Imperial Arms is extremely difficult, and therefore there's some sort of power ceiling that she kind of hit with her luck, I guess, with getting some of the corpses, I guess. So it kind of affects her reliability, but don't get me wrong, she is more than powerful. She is ridiculously strong. But okay, can we just take a moment here? Because her and the guy at number 2, which I think anyone who read the manga can guess, they don't just share a close ranking. They share a relationship in the manga. They got together, man. They are an item, and I just love that. Okay, so the next guy on this list, if you haven't guessed already, but I'll tell you in a second, is living, breathing proof that the I can fix her movement is still real. I don't recommend doing it in real life, though. It's probably not as easy as what happened in the manga. Anyways, he looked at Kurome and said, "Not on my watch." He got through to her, actually. He was the sole reason she gave up on killing Akame. He was the reason she chose to actually live out the rest of her life with him instead of just rushing into the field of battle despite all the hypnotism she had to serving the army. It's amazing what you can do when you actually love someone so much that you can drive them away from a very self-destructive end. And they are so unbelievably cute together. And honestly, the most wholesome thing of this manga is definitely this relationship. I cannot tell you the fact that I bookmarked every manga chapter that they had a moment together. Oh, I love this manga so much. I love this couple so much. Moving on. Grand Chariot is more or less a more refined version of Incursio without the adaptability part. But the way that Wave is able to utilize it is genuinely terrifying, actually. In the manga, at least, he was able to go up against Akame, Lubbock, Mine at the exact same time and hold his own for a while. Let that sink in for a second. The reason he's not higher up, the reason that I put him and Kurome so close together in the rankings, despite it being confirmed by Esdef that his strength is nearly perfected, is merely because he's kinda dumb. There are moments where I think a smarter fighter with the same power and skills that he had would have actually just been able to pull the trigger. For some reason, Wave just doesn't pull the trigger in time. Raw power, a comfortable number 2. Overall package, I'd still put him at number 2. But it's just that he doesn't have the tactical or strategic mind that I think like Kurome or Esdef or anyone else does. It's not a bad thing about him though, because it did lead to him and Kurome getting together. Don't get me wrong though. And I will say this, and make sure you listen to this. I actually kind of like these sector characters because although they aren't the smartest, they have the biggest hearts usually. Which is why I ship him and Kurome so much. Now, spoiler alert for the manga, I would like to talk about the fact that Wave was able to wield 2 Imperial Arms at the same time. Runs Masatama and Grand Chariot at the exact same time. This is a feat no one else in the manga has ever achieved, and it was incredible to watch him do that. With that, he was not only able to go toe-to-toe with Tatsumi, he was also able to help and even damage the Supreme Imperial Arms. It's a feat not before seen. And I would say that the number 2 spot on the Jaegers. He may not always be the smartest. He's also sometimes quite dumb. But in terms of pure strength, there's probably no one other than the person at the top that can beat him among the Jaegers. And at number one, if you don't agree, you did not watch the anime or even read the manga. We have Esdeath, number one throughout the entire series. Now, she was stronger than anime. What if I told you she was even stronger in the manga? In the manga, she was able to make an entire ice cavalry fleet that was able to fight alongside the Imperial Army. Using this, she was able to hold back a lot of the rebel army soldiers. However, when she was finally ready, she actually recalled all the ice cavalry into herself, letting her gain back the energy required to fight off over 1,000,000 people. Now, was she able to actually beat 1,000,000 people? No. But using that, she was able to kill a very large majority of them, able to take out multiple Imperial armies within the fight. And of course, we can't forget her trump card, Mahapapa. I mean, Mahaptama. It is by far one of the strongest Imperial arms, despite its simplicity. Her ice cavalry in the manga, when she was recalled, was able to almost level an entire world. The ice storm, or as she called it, the Russian winter, able to nearly encapsulate the entire empire. It is by far one of the most world-ending threats, I guess, in the manga, with even Najinda calling her a born slaughterer. She is by far the strongest, and there is no question about that. Her battle IQ, her strength, her instincts, everything is basically at the peak. And the only reason she lost was number one, even Akame saying it, she was tired. She had already fought over thousands of rebel army soldiers, and then finally she had to fight Akame in her trump card form with. And not to mention, she actually was quite, I guess, clumsy at the end, having forgotten that Murasame can still inflict the deadly poisonous curse, even if it's not technically all together and it's shattered. She was able to heal once from that Murasame blow, but not twice. But she probably could have if she had the time. But she didn't. She is by far the strongest, and no way is that even close. Thank you for listening. About Run and Seryu being close, or Wave and Kurame being close, and you better be talking about the relationship. Oh yeah, wait, actually, I'm talking about rankings. Anyways, and honestly, make the case. I genuinely think that this one, a couple of these are very arguable. Drop your own rankings down below. Tell me where I went wrong. And if you want more Akame ga Kill content, let me know, because I have plenty more thoughts on this series. And also Wave and Kurame, my OTP! Anyways, thank you for watching.